Our teenage years are a time of change. We're not just changing physically, our brains are changing as well. In this short video, we're going to look at these changes and what they mean for teenagers. Understanding these changes is an important part of helping teenagers stay safe and make positive choices. So what are these changes that happen when we're teenagers? Children's brains have a massive growth spurt when they're very young. By the time they're 6, their brains are already about 90 to 95% of adult size, but the brain still needs a lot of remodeling before it can function as an adult brain. This brain remodeling happens intensively during adolescence, continuing into your child's mid-20s. Some brain changes happen before puberty, and some continue long after. Brain change depends on age, experience, and hormonal changes in puberty. So even though all teenagers' brains develop in roughly the same way at the same time, there are differences among individual teenagers. For example, if your child started puberty early, this might mean that some of your child's brain changes started early too. The teenage years are a time of significant growth and development inside the teenage brain. The main change is that unused connections in the thinking and processing part of your child's brain, called the grey matter, are pruned away. At the same time, other connections are strengthened. This is the brain's way of becoming more efficient, based on the use it or lose it principle. This pruning process begins in the back of the brain. The front part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, is remodeled last. The prefrontal cortex is the decision-making part of the brain, responsible for your child's ability to plan and think about the consequences of actions, solve problems, and control impulses. Changes in this part continue into early adulthood. Because the prefrontal cortex is still developing, teenagers might rely on the part of the brain called the amygdala to make decisions and solve problems more than adults do. The amygdala is associated with emotions, impulses, aggression, and instinctive behavior. The amygdala is part of the limbic system, which is the part of the brain responsible for emotional responses. The limbic system matures earlier in the brain. The result is that the limbic system, responsible for emotions, will be likely to gain the upper hand over the control center, the prefrontal cortex, and so explains a young person's rush to make decisions. In other words, when teenagers make decisions, particularly in emotionally charged situations, those choices are often more weighted in feelings, the mature limbic system, than in logic, the immature prefrontal cortex. So the prefrontal cortex develops late, but what does it specifically do? Basically, all executive function. This means our abilities to differentiate among conflicting thoughts, determine good and bad, better and best, same and different, future consequences of current activities, working toward a defined goal, prediction of outcomes, expectation based on actions, and social control, the ability to suppress urges that if not suppressed could lead to socially unacceptable outcomes. All this can mean we can be more likely to take risks when we are younger, especially when we are with our peers. Well, did you take more risks when you were younger? Being a teenager isn't easy, and risk-taking is normal. Positive risk-taking helps us grow and develop before we become adults. But not all risk is positive. We should all try and encourage as many positive risk-taking opportunities as we can. Positive risk can include things like taking part in sports and activities, trying new things, or just putting yourself forward for something. Helping your child avoid negative risks while promoting positive, risk-taking opportunities is one way we can help them safely navigate their teenage years. Our teenage years can be challenging, but they are a wonderful time of our lives. Here is a quote that nicely sums up our teenage years. The more I think about adolescence and the more teenagers I meet, the more I am struck by what a very special time it is and how much they have going on in their lives and their brains. I am full of respect for what many teenagers have to deal with and how well they cope. Nicola Morgan, author of Blame My Brain. Thanks for watching. The video will now provide some further tips and advice.